How much does one egg from your backyard actually cost? Not the price printed on the carton at the grocery store, the real number. With the coop, the feed, the bedding, the scratch grain, the waterer that froze and cracked in January, the vet visit for a hen that ate a rubber band. I spent 12 months writing down every dollar, every bag of feed, every hour I spent in the dark refilling a waterer at 6 in the morning, and I got a number. Then I changed one thing and got a completely different number. Both are true. That is what makes this complicated. 6 hens, a coop I built from pallet wood and hardware cloth, 12 months of tracking. I did not round, I did not estimate. I kept every receipt in a shoebox on the kitchen counter until November, then sat down with a spreadsheet and entered 47 line items. The question was simple. What does one egg cost landed in my kitchen from my own birds? So what goes into that number? Start with housing. The coop cost me approximately $210 in materials. 4 sheets of plywood at $32 each, $128. A roll of half-inch hardware cloth, $38. Roofing panel, hinges, screws, a latch, a section of 2x4 framing, another $44 combined. I had a drill, a saw, and a Saturday. No labor cost. A commercial prefab coop in the same size range runs $350 to $600. Mine had a crooked door and a roof that leaked for 2 weeks until I added a bead of caulk. It worked. At $210, amortized over a 5-year lifespan, that comes to $42 per year, about $3.50 per month. For a building that houses 6 animals, perspective, a single bag of premium dog food costs more. Chicks were $4 each at the local feed store. 6 chicks, $24. I picked them up in a cardboard box in March. They lived under a heat lamp in the garage for 6 weeks, then moved to a temporary pen, then to the coop. They started laying at around 22 weeks. During those 22 weeks, I bought starter feed, then grower feed. That early phase cost approximately $65 before a single egg appeared. Call it the startup tax. Every chicken keeper pays it. Nobody talks about it. Now the real number. The line item that towers over everything else. Feed. Commercial layer pellets, the standard recommendation from every backyard chicken guide on the internet. A 50-pound bag costs around $18 in my area. Some regions pay $22. Some get it for $15. 6 hens go through roughly 1 bag every 3 weeks. Consumption varies with temperature, more in winter when they burn calories to stay warm, slightly less in summer when they forage more. The average across 12 months, about $35 per month. Over a full year, that is $420 on feed alone. $420 on one input for 6 birds. Write that number down. I will come back to it. What else? Bedding. Pine shavings for the coop floor. 1 compressed bale per month at $6.50 from the farm supply store. Over 12 months, $78. The bales came wrapped in plastic, filled the backseat of my car, and smelled like a furniture factory. I hauled them, tore them open, spread them across the coop floor, and 2 weeks later they were matted with droppings and needed topping up. Every month, the same cycle. Oyster shell for calcium, hens need it to form strong eggshells. 1 bag, $12. I went through 2 bags in a year, $24. A bottle of poultry vitamins to add to the water during winter when fresh greens are scarce, $9. And then the vet, 1 visit, $45. A Rhode Island red named Copper stopped eating for 2 days and sat puffed up in the corner. I drove her to an avian vet 20 minutes away. Diagnosis? She had eaten a rubber band. It passed on its own. The $45 bought me peace of mind and a story I tell at dinner parties.
If we don't figure this out by morning, we stand to
Miscellaneous,
lose everything.
a replacement waterer after the old one cracked in a freeze, $14. A heat lamp bulb, $7. Zip ties, a new hinge, a bag of grit, about $35 combined. I added it all up on a Tuesday night in November. The kitchen table was covered in receipts, a calculator, and a cup of coffee that went cold before I finished. Coop amortized, $42. Chicks amortized, $5. Feed, $420. Bedding, $78. Supplements, $24. Vitamins, $9. Vet, $45. Miscellaneous, $35. Grand total for year one, $658. How many eggs did those 6 hens produce? I checked the notebook every evening. A tally mark for each egg. The count at the end of 12 months, 1,410 eggs. Not every hen laid every day. The average across all 6 was about 235 eggs per hen per year. 2 hens were consistent producers, close to 280 each. 1 was lazy, about 160. In December and January, production dropped to 3 eggs per day from all 6 birds. In June, I collected 5 or 6 per day. Daylight drives laying. Short days, fewer eggs. Not a management flaw. Biology. Now the math. $658 divided by 1,410 eggs. 46 cents and 70 cents per egg. But wait, that includes the full startup cost of the coop and chicks in year 1. If I amortize those over 5 years, the annual operating cost drops to approximately $613. Divided by 1,410 eggs, 43 cents and 45 cents per egg. What does the store charge? Conventional eggs near me, $3.89 per dozen. Per egg, 32 cents and 45 cents. Free-range eggs, $5.49 per dozen, or 45 cents and 85 cents per egg. Pasture-raised organic, $7.99, or 66 cents and 66 cents per egg. My backyard eggs at $0.435 landed between conventional and free-range. More expensive than the factory, cheaper than the fancy carton by 2 cents. A tie at best. Not terrible, not impressive. And missing the single biggest cost entirely. What about time? I spent approximately 15 minutes every morning on the chickens. Open the coop, check the water, fill the feeder, collect eggs. Scan for anything unusual, a hen limping, a broken egg, a rat hole near the foundation. Another 10 minutes in the evening, close the coop door, top off water, toss some scratch grain, do a head count to make sure no one got left outside. 25 minutes a day, every day, no weekends off, no vacation mode. 25 minutes times 365 days, 152 hours per year, an entire work month. What is an hour worth? Even at a conservative $12 an hour, well below median wage, that adds $1,824 to the annual cost. Total with labor, $613 plus $1,824 equals $2,437. Divide by 1,410 eggs. $1.73 per egg. A dozen, $20.76. The store charges $3.89. My eggs cost $20.76 per dozen. The number nobody prints on the homesteading blog. The number the Backyard Chickens Save Money YouTube video skips. Because $20.76 per dozen kills the narrative. It makes backyard eggs look like a hobby for people who hate money. So why do I still have chickens? Why did I not sell them after running those numbers? Because $1.73 is the wrong answer to the right question. Not because the math is wrong. The math is perfect. Every receipt, every hour, every egg counted. The problem is the system behind the math. I was running an industrial model on a backyard scale, buying feed formulated for battery cages where hens live on wire and never see soil, buying pine shavings packaged at a pet supply chain for hamster owners, buying calcium supplements because the commercial feed was not complete enough on its own. I had created a miniature factory farm in my yard and then wondered why the economics of a factory farm did not work at 6 hens. That $420 feed bill, that was 64% of the total material cost. It was also the most replaceable line item on the spreadsheet. How did chickens eat before bagged feed existed? The domestic chicken descends from the red jungle fowl of Southeast Asia. For roughly 8,000 years of domestication, nobody bought layer pellets. Hens scratched the ground. They ate insects, seeds, worms, grass, fallen grain, kitchen waste, compost pile scraps, and whatever else they found. Village chickens in rural Indonesia, Central America, and Sub-Saharan Africa still live this way today. They produce fewer eggs than a commercial hybrid, maybe 150 per year instead of 280, but they cost almost nothing to maintain. The entire concept of feeding chickens from a bag is barely 80 years old. It is a product of the post-war industrial agriculture boom, the same era that gave us synthetic fertilizers, monoculture, and the feedlot. I did not need to eliminate purchased feed entirely. I am not raising jungle fowl in a forest. I have 6 hybrid layers in a suburban backyard. They need reliable nutrition. What I needed was to stop treating commercial feed as their entire diet and start treating it as a supplement, maybe 30% of intake, not 100. I changed 5 things. Each one removed a line from the spreadsheet or shrank it dramatically. Change 1. Free-range foraging. I let the hens into the garden area for 4 hours every afternoon, from about 2 p.m. to dusk. They scattered across the beds, scratched through mulch, flipped leaves, ate grubs, chased grasshoppers across the lawn, shredded clover. A hen actively foraging on decent ground with insect life and plant diversity can find 30 to 40% of her daily calorie needs. That figure comes from the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension. My own rough tracking over 3 months, weighing feed consumed on foraging days versus confinement days, showed a 28 to 35% reduction in feed intake on days they foraged. Close enough. There is a trade-off. Free-range hens eat seedlings. They scratch up freshly planted beds. They leave droppings on the patio. I solved this by fencing the most sensitive garden beds and letting the hens into the rest. They gravitated toward the mulched areas and the compost pile. They ignored the gravel paths. Chicken behavior is predictable if you watch for a week. Change 2. Kitchen scraps. Not random table garbage, targeted food waste. Leafy greens, squash peels, melon rinds, stale bread soaked in water, overripe bananas, leftover rice, cooked pasta, fruit that went soft before we ate it. No onions, no citrus peel in large amounts, no raw beans, no avocado skin. Those are the limits. Everything else is fair. A family of 4 generates enough usable kitchen scraps to cover approximately 15 to 20% of 6 hens' caloric needs. I weighed our scraps for 1 month using a kitchen scale. Daily average 1.8 pounds, some days more, some less. Thanksgiving week was a bonanza, nearly 4 pounds a day of vegetable trimmings alone. The hens ate it all. Nothing went to the compost bin during that month. The loop closed. Food waste became eggs. The sound of 6 hens sprinting across the yard when they heard the back door open with a scrap bowl, that low, urgent clucking, the scratch of claws on packed dirt, became one of the most reliable sounds in my daily routine. Change 3, and this is the one that moved the needle most. Fermented whole wheat. A 50-pound bag of whole wheat berries at my local feed mill, $14. The same store sells a 50-pound bag of commercial layer pellets for $18. The wheat costs less per pound and lasts longer per bird because of how fermentation works. The process: take 2 cups of dry wheat berries, put them in a bucket, cover with water about 2 inches above the grain level, cover loosely, wait 48 hours. The grain swells, softens, and begins to ferment. The water turns slightly cloudy. There is a faint, sour smell, not unpleasant, similar to sourdough starter. The fermentation breaks down phytic acid, which is an anti-nutrient that blocks mineral absorption. Bioavailability of phosphorus, zinc, and iron increases by approximately 25%, according to published poultry nutrition research from Wageningen University. The hens eat less of it per feeding because they absorb more from each grain. Gut health improves. Feed efficiency goes up. 1 bag of fermented wheat lasts approximately 2 months for 6 hens. $7 per month, down from $35. A 78% reduction in the single biggest line item. Over 12 months, $84 instead of $420. Savings, $336. I started overlapping batches, 1 bucket soaking, 1 draining, 1 ready to feed. 3 buckets in rotation. Total equipment cost, 3 5-gallon buckets from the hardware store, $4 each, $12. One-time expense. Change 4, deep litter method. I stopped buying pine shavings. In October, I raked fallen leaves from the maple and oak trees in the yard. Free, unlimited supply. I piled them 15 centimeters deep on the coop floor. The chickens did the rest. They scratched through the leaves, turned them, mixed their droppings into the mass. The leaf litter slowly composted in place. Beneficial microbes colonized the layer. In winter, the decomposition process generated low-level heat, enough to keep the coop floor warm to the touch even on mornings when the air outside was below freezing. The smell changed. With pine shavings, the coop had a sharp ammonia edge within 10 days. With deep leaf litter, the smell was different. Damp earth, dried leaves, something almost mushroom-like. Not perfume, but not offensive. I added a fresh layer of leaves once a month, raked the surface lightly, and let the system work. By April, I shoveled out approximately 200 pounds of dark, crumbly, worm-filled compost from the coop floor. It went straight onto the garden beds. No bagging, no purchasing. Bedding cost, $0, down from $78. Change 5, recycled eggshell calcium. I collected used eggshells from my hens' eggs and from store-bought eggs we used when production dipped in winter. Rinse them. Baked at 250 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes to kill any bacteria. Crush them into coarse pieces using a rolling pin. Put them in a small dish in the coop. The hens ate them on demand. They self-regulate calcium intake based on need. A laying hen knows when she needs more. Oyster shell purchase, $0, down from $24. What does the spreadsheet look like after all 5 changes? Coop amortized, $42. Chicks amortized, $5. Fermented wheat, $84. Leaves for bedding, $0. Kitchen scraps, $0. Eggshell calcium, $0. Vitamins, $9. Vet in year 2, $0. Miscellaneous, $15. Fermentation buckets amortized, $3. Total, $158. Egg production in year 2 actually rose. 1,460 eggs, up from 1,410. The birds were healthier on the varied diet. Better feather condition, glossy, full. Fewer respiratory issues during winter. The hen that had stopped laying in year 1, a barred rock called smudge, restarted after 2 months on fermented grain and forage. I cannot prove causation. I can report the timing. $158 divided by 1,460 eggs, $0.108 per egg. But I want to be fair. Year 1's startup costs were real. Blending both years gives a more honest average, approximately 19 cents per egg, a dozen for $2.28. The store, $3.89 for conventional. My eggs, $2.28. A 41% savings over the store brand. And these are free-range, forage-supplemented, no antibiotic eggs. At the farmer's market 2 towns over, similar eggs sell for $8 per dozen. My cost is 71% lower than the market rate for equivalent quality. Does the time cost disappear? No. I still spend 25 minutes a day, 152 hours a year. That number did not change with the new system. The morning routine is the same: open, check, water, collect, close. But what those 25 minutes produce changed. The chickens eat garden pests: slugs, grubs, Japanese beetle larvae, aphids on low plants. I stopped buying slug bait entirely, and a $30 per year savings. I stopped using any insecticide on the vegetable beds. Their scratching through garden mulch accelerates decomposition, doing in weeks what would take months without them. The 200 pounds of coop compost replaced 2 bags of commercial compost at $7 each, $14 saved. The kitchen scraps they consume divert approximately 650 pounds of organic matter per household per year from the waste stream, according to the EPA. A forest does not separate these functions. In a forest, birds scratch through leaf litter, spread seeds, deposit nitrogen, turn soil, and control insect populations, all at once, all free. No one itemizes the contribution of a wild turkey to the ecosystem and puts a price on it. The backyard version is smaller, messier, and involves more bucket washing. But the principle holds. A chicken is not a machine that converts feed into eggs. A chicken is a node in a loop. Feed costs collapse when the loop closes. Should I count pest control as an egg subsidy? Should I count the compost value? If I do, the per egg cost drops below 10 cents. If I do not, it stays at 19 cents. Both calculations are honest. Both are incomplete. The spreadsheet does whatever I tell it to. The question is, what I decide belongs in the cells. That is what I mean when I say there are 2 answers. There is the cash answer, 19 cents per egg if I run the new system and count only direct costs. There is the ecosystem answer, approximately 8 cents to 10 cents per egg if I include pest control, compost value, and waste diversion. Both answers require the same shift. Stop buying the industrial package and let the birds operate closer to how birds operated for 8 millennia. If chickens are already living in a coop behind a house somewhere near where I am talking, and the feed bill is $35 a month, here is the single highest impact change to make this week. Not next month, this week. Buy a 50-pound bag of whole wheat berries. Feed mill, bulk food store, or online, $14 to $18, depending on source. Put 2 cups of dry wheat in a food-safe bucket. Cover with water, 2 inches above the grain. Cover loosely with a lid or cloth. Wait 48 hours. Drain, serve. Start a second batch on day 1. so that when the first batch is ready, the next is already soaking. Within a week, the rhythm is automatic. The hens may ignore the fermented grain for a day, maybe two. They are accustomed to processed pellets, uniform in size, texture, and flavor. Fermented wheat is wet, slightly sour, unfamiliar. By day 3, they will eat it readily. By day 7, they will prefer it. I watch this transition in my own flock and in 4 other flocks whose owners I stay in contact with. The pattern was identical every time. Monitor egg production for 30 days after the switch. I recorded 0 drop. 2 of the 4 other flocks reported a brief 1 to 2 day dip followed by a return to baseline. The University of Georgia Cooperative Extension notes that fermented feed reduces pathogenic bacteria in the gut by up to 70% compared to dry feed. My hens had 0 health issues in year 2. The vet bill went from $45 to $0. I cannot call that proof. I can call it data. There is one number my spreadsheet never calculated. I do not know how to enter it into a cell. 6 in the morning. The light is gray. The grass is wet. I walk out in boots and a jacket that smells like wood smoke from last night. The coop door creaks open. The hens murmur, a low, rolling sound, not clucking exactly, more like a conversation at a volume meant only for the room. I reach into the nesting box. Warm straw. The faint, dusty smell of dried pine needles and feathers. An egg sitting in the hollow, still holding the heat of the bird that laid it. The shell is rough under my thumb. There is a tiny smear of down on one side. I carry it inside, crack it into a pan. The yolk sits high and round, deep orange, nothing like the flat, pale disc from a factory carton. The white holds tight. The sound of it hitting the hot pan is a clean sizzle. I can tell the cost of that egg to the penny. 2 answers, both honest. What I have not figured out is how to price the morning itself. $87, 1 bag of fertilizer. The label promised everything. The soil got nothing.